Here's a story from Reuters. U.S. says it halts healthcare fraud schemes worth nearly $15 billion. And I feel like they buried the lead. The lead story is they've filed criminal charges against 324 defendants and the seizure of more than $245 million in cash, luxury cars, and other assets. The actual loss to the U.S. government totaled about $2.9 billion. So when we had all this DOJ stuff going through and everyone's saying, when are you going to start arresting these people who are ripping off the taxpayer? Well, there you go. This is massive. They say today, quote, today marks a decisive moment in our fight to protect American taxpayers from fraudsters and to defend the integrity of America's healthcare system. Matthew, how do you pronounce that? Galeotti,
that's what I would say.
the head of the Justice Department's criminal division, told reporters during a press conference. Those charges include 93 doctors and other medical professionals accused of submitting false claims to government healthcare programs like Medicare and Medicaid. This is absolutely nuts. I think we actually have a video
Claims.
here. Let's it's 52 seconds long. Let's make sure we get the volume up. Here we go.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Matthew Galeotti, and I'm the head of the Justice Department's Criminal Division. Thank you all for joining us today as we announce the largest coordinated healthcare fraud takedown in the history of the Department of Justice. Today marks a decisive moment in our fight to protect American taxpayers from fraudsters and to defend the integrity of America's healthcare system. We are announcing today charges against 324 defendants for their alleged participation in healthcare fraud schemes involving approximately $14.6 billion in false claims submitted to Medicare, Medicaid, and other healthcare programs.
Holy crap. I'm excited. This feels good, huh?
It's Obamacare.
Yeah.
What?
That's Obamacare for you.
That's Obamacare.
He just comes out and he's like, actually, literally, it's the whole healthcare Obama infrastructure, 40, 50, you know.
It's got to go.
I do like the fact that, well, not like the fact, but I'm hoping that this will actually lead to people that are extremely critical of the government and that are impatient. They're saying, oh, these things aren't happening fast enough. Hopefully this will be another indication that there are investigations going on. There are moves being made. And whereas, yes, I would love it if, they could have just got into office and snapped their fingers and all the bad people.
Why are you looking at me?
Automatically.
Why are you looking at me while you're saying
I'm looking around the table. All the bad people just automatically just were in cuffs and locked up. It would have been wonderful. But I do actually, and I know people are going to be like, oh, you're so naive, but I do actually think that there are at least a few people that are actually in the government looking to fix significant problems. Not saying they're going to fix them all. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying this is exactly how everything's going to be rosy and stuff. But I do think that you're going to see more and more of this throughout the summer. I mean, that's what Dan Bongino and Cash Patel said.
I was looking up who some of these people were, and there's a story out of Baton Rouge, some women just totally defrauding elderly and disabled to get cars. I mean, it's just sick stuff.
Yeah. And that's part of the problem with the government, with the budget that we have, the size of the government, the idea that there isn't massive fraud and abuse. Never mind waste. Of course, there's going to be waste. People, it's not your money that's automatically going to happen. They're just like, whatever. It's another $500, another $1,000, whatever. Right. There's going to be people that are not going to be looking to spend the money in the most frugal manner possible. But the real problem with a massive government is the abuse and the fraud. The people that are going to try to use government money to put an addition on their house, or if they can figure it out, use government money to buy themselves cars, use government programs to put their kids through school when they don't deserve it, or whatever. Those kind of things are going to happen, and it's going to be more common because of the size and scope of government.
Is this a path to arresting Fauci if we undo the auto pen pardon?
This is a total different topic, but Fauci, Rand Paul is actually going to subpoena Fauci. I saw something on Twix. I didn't retweet it, so I don't have a post that I can show you or whatever. Okay. But I saw it today. Rand Paul is looking to subpoena Fauci, and hopefully we can actually get something moving on that front as well. Yep. Considering the information, I don't know if we're going to talk about this either, but considering the information about the RFK found all the hidden information that the CDC was hiding, again, that's another thing that'll come out, or that's come out, that shows that there are people in the government that were elected or that were appointed by Donald Trump, proving that, electing Donald Trump was definitely the better option without question. So
for posterity, I want to clarify. We don't exactly. It has been reported hundreds of arrests. That's why we led with that phrasing specifically. Reuters doesn't say arrests as charges, but other websites do say arrests. And I started thinking about something. I wonder if they actually shut up and started cuffing all these people, which I imagine most of them probably did. There's 13 confirmed people in Indiana that were arrested over this. 12 people, I think, in like Eastern Europe got caught or something. I don't, and I just want to clarify. It has been reported by many outlets. These are mass arrests, but Reuters didn't say that. So I'm just going to make sure that's clear.
Yeah.
Because we want to be specific. And if it turns out they're like, oh, we arrested, it says in the Reuters article they arrested 12. There's another article saying they arrested 13. If it turns out that there's dozens of arrests, I'm still happy with it, beginning, but I just want to make sure that's clear.
The article I was referencing about the ladies in Baton Rouge, they were charged with conspiracy after alleging defrauding federal programs benefiting the elderly and disabled.
Hopefully the situation, this is like the DOJ just kind of sticking their toe in saying, let's see how the water is. And now they can be like, oh, the water's fine. Let's jump in there and just arrest everyone.
Yeah.
Well, it's also, some people might be saying, who cares about healthcare, the system, whatever, like get to the corruption in politics and in law and the FBI. I think most people are not going to be satisfied with this because this is going after the fraud of where people were stealing money. It's what DOJ was looking for, waste, fraud, and abuse. And people were saying, if there's all this fraud, where are the charges? Okay, well, they just brought 324 defendants in, so that's a good start. But I do know there'll be a lot of people being like, okay, fine, but what about politics? I say, start at the base. You start pulling Jenga blocks out from the bottom of the pyramid, and you weaken the infrastructure. So I'm not saying that any of these doctors are colluding or conspiring, but starting at the bottom and eroding this base of criminality and fraud in the government, and then the higher up people that are trying to maintain and support that will have no support systems themselves.
I hope so.
This is the GDP of a small country. I mean, this is a lot of money. I'm looking at Doge AI, and it says the transnational criminal organization, they're calling this Operation Gold Rush, allegedly led by individuals based in Russia and Eastern Europe, used foreign straw owners to purchase over 30 small U.S. medical supply companies already enrolled with Medicare using stolen identities of more than 1 million Americans. The group submitted fake claims for equipment that was neither ordered nor delivered. The proceeds were laundered through shell companies in cryptocurrency to accounts in Singapore, Pakistan, Israel, and other countries.
Wow. And let's see what we got here. In case those of you may be wondering how much $15 billion is, let's go with, here's some countries. Moldova, the Congo, Mauritius, is that how you pronounce that? Kyrgyzstan, and Georgia all have GDPs at or around 15 billion.
I wasn't lying.
Several small countries. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's
Kyrgyzstan.
Yeah, that's over by
It's somewhere.
Afghanistan,
On the map.
Tajikistan, over that part of the world. But yeah, I mean, look, the amount of money, it's a big dollar amount, but this really should make people think, if this much in this one particular scam that they're talking about, or what is it, healthcare fraud. So just in healthcare fraud that they found these, can you imagine how much there is throughout the rest of the government? It's probably on the order. I mean, it's possible that Musk was right, that you could get rid of $1 trillion worth of waste, fraud, and abuse. I mean, it seems like a lot, but maybe you could. I don't know.
I believe it.
These people are living large.
Transnational.
For years.
If they could get rid of $2 trillion from Doge, we would have closed the deficit. But they came. What'd they end up closing out at? Like $200 billion.
This is why I'm scared to go to Loudoun County restaurants. Because like we used to. I'm kidding, by the way, but the joke is, they got some of the best. Look, if you were trying to find where the capital city in the Hunger Games is, it is Loudoun County, Virginia. Like McLean, Reston. What else you got? Alexandria,
Chevy
Sterling,
Chase.
Chevy Chase, Leesburg,
Bethesda.
That's Maryland.
Oh yeah. Fair enough.
But that's like second round. It's like it does count. Basically, all of the people who are, well, I shouldn't say all, but many of the people who are defrauding the government through these NGO schemes as lawyers and stuff like this are living in these areas. And so they got some of the best restaurants ever. Well, I'm going to shout them out. Barcelona, the Tapas restaurant in Reston, is hands down like one of the best restaurants I've ever been to. And they're really good people, and they're very nice to me and they're fans. So I will shout them out. They are not on the bad side of this. But jokingly, it's like, I'm going to go there and there's going to be some guy, like a homeless guy, and it's going to be like, I used to make $15 million a year. And he's going to look at me and be like, it's you.
Your fault.
And I'm going to be like,
I would have made 16 this year if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
you helped Trump win and he took everything from us.
Yeah.
But that's the amount of houses. Apparently people are saying there's a surge in homes for sale in these areas where all the people defrauding the government are now like, time to leave. Yeah, got to get out of here.
I mean, you hear a lot of that kind of like rumors or scuttlebutt or whatever. I would really like to find some kind of solid numbers about if there really is.
Right after.
People are actually leaving and stuff. I hope so.
I'm going to shout out my friend Lauren Rogue Lou 18. She actually, right after Trump was elected, she was sending me a list. All of a sudden, all of these multi-million-dollar homes were going up for sale in Alexandria and surrounding areas. And it's like all of a sudden it was all at once.
To be fair, some of it's probably legit. Like if you're working for an NGO and there's an actual contract that you have, and it's a real contract, and you're like, yeah, Trump's going to cancel that contract, so we should probably pack up and leave. I'm sure there's a lot of legitimate sales that are happening every time an administration turns over into a new, Democrat, Republican. But I'm pretty sure a lot of people run for the hills in these areas. Bethesda, what do you got? Alexandria, of course. What else do you have? Oxon Hill.
I don't know that one.
Yeah,
Never even heard of Oxon Hill.
that's where National Harbor is.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Let me tell you guys something. You already know the answer, but where do you think the highest grossing individual casino is in the United States?
Yeah, it's not Vegas. It's
not
probably it's probably in Maryland.
It is in Maryland. It is DC's National Harbor.
Oh.
So at least that's a couple years ago they were reporting this. I think they say outside of Vegas and Atlantic City, the highest grossing individual casino is DC's National Harbor.
Big
And I got questions about their poker room. Not that they're doing anything wrong, but I've made this point. If they have a room inside DC National Harbor where they play. Sometimes it's so for those that don't know poker. When someone says the numbers like 1, 2, 2, 5, 3, or 5, 10, those define what are called blind bets that you're forced to make. So if you're sitting down, there's, let's say you're playing with 8 players, it's a max table. Typically, sometimes they do 9. There's a button called the dealer button that moves around every time a hand is dealt and ends. They move the button once over. The 2 spaces right in front of it is the small and the big blind. You are forced to make a $1 bet or a $2 bet. And then if you want to play the game, you look at your card, say, I'll play. You put in at least $2 or more, right? In that room, they play what's called 25-50, meaning you are required at least once per round to bet $75. And this usually means that if someone's going to raise, they're going to go 2.5 to 3 times. So the first bet will be $75. And then you'll end up, so I'll put it this way. It's a $10,000 minimum buy-in. It's in a private room you can't see inside of. Sometimes they play 10-25 a little bit lower, but it's basically the same thing. Here's my point. If you're a oil executive and you're trying to send some money to a politician of some sort, maybe not the politician directly, but maybe a super PAC without having it on the books, you sit down at the table and you look at your cards and there's no cameras and there's walls and no one can see who's in there. And you go, oh boy, I got a real good hand. I will bet $50,000. And then the recipient of said illicit money goes, my hand is much better than yours. I will go all in for $200,000. And then the guy who wants to donate goes, rats, you got my bluff. I fold. You win my $50,000.
Hey, how easy is that?
And then he says, don't forget. Now, I'm not saying they actually do that. I'm just saying I would not be surprised if poker tables are the means by which bribery happens in D.C.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. Maybe not the actual representatives, but maybe their staff or friends
Lawyers.
of theirs, exactly, lawyers, that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Hacks, things like that.
and really, it's a situation of like, how could you possibly prove it?
And
You can't.
Yeah.
And not everybody can do art like Hunter Biden.
That's right.
Exactly.
Not everybody has that kind of visual talent.
Exactly.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.